I know, yeah. Of course I know exactly what save I need to load. Yeah, so literally just at the end of the last stream I did, got a visit from, well, JB. And Yuji got to ask her about Sachi and whatnot. Specifically, he brought up the incident where Sachi could have possibly died. I mean, she fainted in the bathtub while trying to count to 10,000. And asked, okay, what's the deal? Like, going that far just to, like, not deny a request? You have to, like, just wonder, like, are you sure she's gonna be okay if she literally just never refuses a single request, Sachi? Alright, so this is where we left off. Matching students of different school years into a single classroom and giving them an identical course of instruction is typically referred to as a combined class system. It's most frequently used in rural elementary schools, where low population and limited resources sometimes make it an unavoidable cost-saving measure. Alright, next problem, Sakaki-san. Please give this a try. I guess Mihama might be called an unusual variation on that system. Amani's a year ahead of me, Sachi and Makina a year below. But we're all currently being taught how to solve quadratic equations by factorization. Of course, even in rural areas, they don't tend to squash 3 years into one. You usually have to go to South Korea to see anything like this. Okay, Kumine-san, the next problem's a little tricky, but please give it your best shot. Yeah, that would be x times 3x minus 1, I believe. Nicely done as always. I can tell you've been keeping up with your studies. Thank you very much. It feels as though Komine-san can answer questions from a top-flight university's entrance exam without even batting an eye. Taking in Sachi's effortless responses out of the corner of her eye, Sakaki mumbles words of admiration. I think I just had another revelation. What, you forget to turn off your Tsundere training machine after the morning Tsundere sizes? That's not it. Although I'd totally buy that machine if it really existed. Seriously? Okay, so what did you realize? Is it just me, or has Sachi never messed up a question from the teacher either? Come to think of it, I don't think she has. As of 2 days ago, I probably would have reacted with skepticism at this point, but after what I've learned about Sachi lately, this seems all too plausible. Would that mean she gets perfect scores on all her tests too? I'm afraid that's not true. I've received scores other than 100, including on the most recent tests. In your face, the invincible Sachi is only human after all. Why are you of all people boasting about that? Sorry, just sort of rolled into it. True, Komine-san isn't always perfect, but minor slip-ups account for most of her mistakes. She's always very close to full marks. Whoa, I'm truly sorry for getting full of myself. Why am I receiving this heartfelt apology exactly? Oh, Physicist, welcome back. The stream literally did just start, by the way. And I typically tend to spend at least an hour, basically, on any Grisaia stream, give or take. I mean, if I'm in the middle of a chapter, or a day, and it's like I've passed an hour, I'll just make sure I've got that finished first. My guess would be it's instinctive submission ritual. Oh, is that so? But personally, this is still a little bit disappointing in a way. What, that Sachi's grades aren't always perfect? Yeah, but at this point I sort of want to see Sachi stay unblemished. You know, an eternal beacon of untouched purity. Okay, that analogy's more than a little creepy. I'm afraid I don't quite follow any of this, I do apologize. You might not be perfect, but you're a heck of a lot closer than I could ever hope to be. From a common sense perspective, it seems completely obvious. No matter how much of a genius you are, or how much time you spend practicing, it's difficult for any human being to maintain absolute perfection. That said, in Sachi's case, I have this odd feeling that Sachi's only missing questions because nobody's asked her to get perfect scores constantly yet. Am I just overestimating her? But like Yumiko said, it feels like Sachi could handle any question you throw at her. In fact, I'm sure her streak of correct answers in class hasn't yet been broken. Oh, Toasty, welcome back as well, and 5-minute demon? And normal levels in GD, I'm aware they last about 90... I was gonna say 90 minutes, but no, 90 seconds. Club steps around the 90-second mark. Almost said 90 minutes again. No way I'd be beating a 90-minute demon. I mean, even 90-second demons are hard enough for me. I can't imagine doing like 60 times that. I got like one level recently in a GD stream, one level request. The level was 7 minutes long. That definitely caught me off guard because, yeah, I'm expecting the average level to be about like 90 seconds, give or take. And more often than not, like, the requests I do get from random people in chat, those are typically far shorter than 90 seconds. Yes, I believe that's the case since I entered a school at least. Doesn't that make you kind of guys curious? How hard can it make the questions before Sachi can't answer? I can more or less identify with the sentiment. The girl's a curious specimen, to be sure. Why don't we give it a try for real then? Yeah, let's! If we're trying to come up with a question that can stump Sachin, at the very least, we need somebody smarter than her. I mean, you could give her a completely impossible problem, but that's kind of pointless. In that case, Oni-chan would be the man for the job. Good thinking. Despite that sourpuss face of his, Yuji's got a pretty solid brain. For the record, a sourpuss face has absolutely no relevance to academic results. We'll leave this up to you. Take care of the rest, Yuji. What's that supposed to mean? Okay, we got it. You've been appointed to the noble position of guy in charge of coming up with questions to stump Sachi. I guess I don't mind giving her a test, but shouldn't she be asking for consent before appointing anybody? As far as that goes, I'm perfectly alright with this. I see. Alright, everything's settled. We look forward to your reports. If there's anything we can help with, just let us know, alright guys? You betcha, Captain. Well, actually no, not at the moment. Even upload to my channel, the 5-minute demon level, I'd have to probably take a look at that. I'm gonna see if I can find it. YouTube channel. Can I search for the YouTube channel? I'm not finding it. I'm gonna probably just have to go on YouTube and search my channel name directly. And I can't just go and click. Okay, now I can click on the link to your channel. Thanks. I can't click on your username anymore. That was just a feature that was taken away at least a year or two ago. So, Biru by Jonathan GD. My first extra large demon. Unfortunately, I had to play on low detail mode due to FPS drops. Not sure what the problem was, but oh well, you still beat an extra large medium demon. What is the longest level in GD history? I'm willing to bet that it's gonna far surpass 7 minutes, if anything. Five-minute level. I wouldn't be ready for something of that magnitude just yet. I don't know, this looks way easier than Medium Demon so far. Then again, I guess the level's just begun. I'm guessing the first, like, 15% or something is just filler. Or first 12%. Oh my goodness. A 20-minute GD level, and I can imagine failure literally just being like one click away. Or the lack of a single click away. Since a consensus seems to have emerged, I suppose I'll go along with it. No need to struggle against the current. Would you mind if I got back to the lesson now? Maybe I shouldn't be saying this to your face, Sachi, but you're seriously a soft touch. There's such a thing as being too cooperative. Is that so? Assigned a strange new responsibility by the whims of my capricious classmates. I'm holding an impromptu rooftop meeting with Sachi to discuss the specifics. Yes, you just committed yourself to an academic stress test with no real point beyond satisfying our classmates' curiosity, if you hadn't noticed. That's certainly true. Although Sachi obediently accepts my words on a superficial level, she doesn't really seem to recognize the situation as inconvenient. If this doesn't bother you, I won't say you were wrong to accept. Yes, not to worry on that front. If anything, I feel rather happy that someone would exhibit interest in a slatternly slave like myself. Where'd you pick up that phrase? From the cover of a magazine tucked in the very back of the convenience store periodicals counter. Ah, I see. I vaguely suspected as much for a while now, but it seems you're a member in good standing of the masochist community, Sachi. I can't say I've ever consciously thought of myself that way, but if you think so, Kazami-san, I'm sure that's the case. Even if I am, it would make a perfect match for a super sadist like yourself. When did I get promoted to super sadist exactly? A very interesting question. When Sachi gets like this, it really does feel like you're talking to an enigmatic maid with a deadpan sense of humor, but now that I think about it, that impression is probably misleading. The girl's defining characteristics are her earnest personality and impressive range of skills. She accepts nearly every request that comes her way. She's an excellent student, and from what I've seen, she's respectably athletic as well. In a way, she's less a maid and more the ideal personification of an honor student, but she takes it to such an extreme that it's hard to keep yourself from thinking she might be too good to be true. Please try to refrain from undressing me with your eyes like that. It's rather disconcerting. Sorry, can I smack you after all? Allow me to confirm your expectations first. Was struggling feebly and shrieking, "No, you brute," be to your liking? I think a firm press of the reset button is called for at this point. Let's get back on topic, Sachi. There's a couple things I want to ask about before planning out this little experiment. Do you take any specific measures to prepare for teachers asking you to solve a problem in class? Unlike exam questions, the problems in class are often taken directly from a textbook. As long as I study the material from beginning to end, I rarely experience difficulty answering. Certainly true, but studying until you can solve every single problem in the upcoming material usually requires an impractical amount of time and effort. Although she's clearly devoted as well, Sachi must naturally be something of a quick learner. Alright then, what would you do in a situation where you absolutely need someone else's cooperation to fulfill a request? Such as to stop Sakaki and Michiru from fighting, perhaps? Right, with a mission like that, don't you run into a dead end if they just refuse to listen? In circumstances like those, I think about alternative methods within the range of flexibility allowed to me. But depending on the nature of the request and the specific situation, I think my approach would differ fairly widely. It's rather difficult to answer categorically. I see. Don't really tend to think of Sachi as a flexible thinker, but it seems she does consider challenges on a case-by-case basis. You're dropping by Maroon tonight, yes? Yeah, that was the plan unless there was a problem on your end. Very well, in that case I'll see you after school. In any case, today I'm going to be directly observing Sachi's private life. That may well provide me with some insight into what makes this distinctly unusual human being tick. Alright, that's it for today's class, but do remember we have the closing ceremony tomorrow. Make sure to be on time, everyone. Do you have any plans tonight, Sachi? Yes, I was planning to show Kazami-san everything tonight. What? What? Huh? What? All of a sudden, 3 of my classmates spring to their feet as one. What? Was there a tremor? Can't say I noticed. It's not a damn earthquake. We were a little surprised by what Sachi just said. Really? But why? Come on, when you talk about showing everything, it sort of sounds, am I right, Amani-san? Yeah, maybe you didn't mean it that way, but it sounds more a little right. Right, Sakaki-san? If you two are in an illicit relationship, I suppose that's your own business, but... I see the precise nature of your collective delusions now clear to me. But to be perfectly clear, that's not what Sachi meant just now. I was simply hoping to offer myself as an outlet for Kazami's stress, nothing more. A stress outlet?! Some misunderstanding. You disgust me. The chorus draws a few steps away from me, begins to discuss something in venomous whispers, shooting me scornful glances out of the corner of their eyes. Sorry, Sachi, but please keep your mouth shut until I'm done explaining. Listen up, alright? I'm just driving by Sachi's room for a visit. That's the full extent of the plan she's talking about. And how'd that happen? Apparently, Sachi doesn't believe in giving herself free time, so I was kind of dubious. What she volunteered to demonstrate directly what that means. Wait, what, is that all? Once I provide a brief explanation of the circumstances, my three interrogators cool down surprisingly easily. Amani's tone suggests she's all but lost interest. Not that I'm complaining about your strangely understanding. Because she's done the exact same thing for us. She has? I guess it's only natural to wonder about that eventually. Anyway, we all got curious about the same thing as you. So what's going on behind that curtain? It'd be best to see it with your own eyes. I rather doubt you'd be satisfied hearing it from us. In other words, their own version of this field trip must have left a decidedly ambiguous impression. One word of warning, you're visiting a girl's room, so I expect you to be a gentleman, alright? Yeah, I'll make a conscious effort not to disrupt Sachi's private life any more than necessary. That's not quite what I meant, but whatever. Sakaki heaves a small sigh. Makana, who's shown absolutely no interest in the conversation up until this point, promptly sidles over and yanks on her sleeve. Load off your mind? What are you talking about? Alright then, would meeting at the lobby in an hour or so work for you? Yes, that should be just fine. Well, do whatever you want. I could literally not care less. Considering how little you supposedly care, I find it slightly odd you've been tailing me since I left the classroom. Tailing you? Don't be ridiculous! You just happen to be walking along the direction I just happen to be glancing in, well, come visit my room too if you're making the rounds, you got that? And there she goes. Probably just wanted to say that last bit from the very beginning. That Tsundere's lot is not a happy one. Oh? Hey, Amani, why is Sachi running around like a chicken with her head cut off? Because she's a girl? The heck's that supposed to mean? Getting pretty big for your britches these days, little missy. My britches fit just fine. By the way, I think you forget sometimes, but I'm older than you, remember? Alright, you ready? Let's get right to it. Please follow me. Do come in. First thing that catches my eye is a large locker, similar to the one Sachi uses as a storehouse in the classroom. It's also the only thing that catches my eye. There's not much else in the way of distinctive personal touches in here. Minimalist if you put it nicely, plain if you don't. But personally, I'm just grateful it isn't some frilly abomination full of stuffed animals and overpowering scent of candles. In regards to my stuffed animal collection, I have an assortment inside the locker. You might think I'd actually asked. Incidentally, this would be the very first time I've had a man in my room. That a fact? Come to think of it, I haven't even poked my head in Sachi's room before. In other words, you would be my first man, Kazami-san. Try not to put it like that where other people can hear you. Mixture and company would misunderstand again, understandably in this case. I suppose you're right, I'll have to be careful. Once you're back in your room, what's the first order of business normally? I expect it's no different from your own. First order of business after you change out of your uniform. You improved, Kazami-san. At what? Also, couldn't you have gotten changed before I came over? Alright, good night. Not sure exactly what my plans will be for tomorrow. Why did you do that today in particular? A very good question, come to think of it. Why did I? If you don't know the answer, I doubt anyone else will. Well then, the next step in my daily routine would be to study until it's time to prepare dinner. After changing into our casual clothes, if the term can even apply to a maid uniform, in the back, Sachi begins to unpack and arrange the study materials from her school bag. Alright, don't worry about me. Go right ahead like you always do. Certainly. First of all, after carefully spreading out her notes in a few textbooks, Sachi begins solving problems at a steady pace. In no time at all, she is absorbed in the task at hand. Even watching from behind, her concentration is almost startling. First of all, she goes over the problems we reviewed today a second time. When that's done, she moves methodically through everything we might possibly cover in the next class. Even as she jumps new material in different subjects, her pen never stops its regular, mechanical motion across her notebook paper. If nothing else, it's quite a display of academic prowess. You study this much every day? Yes. Our teachers frequently tell me to work hard at your studies after all. That's your reason? I suppose so. Is there something strange about that? No, strange would be an overstatement. Although, personally speaking, it seems way too weak a motivation to inspire this kind of effort. That would be all for today's studies. Getting up from her seat without even pausing to stretch, Sachi immediately begins to pack away her books and study aids. Next up would be preparing dinner then? Kazami-san, did you just read my mind? You told me your schedule before, remember? Kind of think of it, so I did. The scales have fallen from my eyes. Been a while since I heard that catchphrase. Anyway, while you're eating dinner, I guess I should. If you'd like, you're very welcome to stay. That really alright with you? Yes, I did the same thing when everyone came to visit before, and I think it would simplify matters. Do you dislike the idea? No, I don't have any reason to refuse. I'll take you up on that. Thank you very much. Then she goes to make the meal. Just now her smile seemed unusually happy. Was that just my imagination? Cut your carrots, not your bunions. Save your marriage. Peel as onions. About 10 minutes after Sachi began her preparations, I hear the rhythmical sound of a kitchen knife striking a cutting board. Within a few moments, she accompanies this steady percussion with a bizarre song. Almost certainly another of Machina's compositions. Whack, whack. Up to this point, I can't deny she's given herself exactly nothing in the way of legitimate free time. Frankly, her constant motion and eager devotion to her tasks aren't particularly different from what I normally see out of her in school. From the smell of things, it's curry, huh? Very perceptive. It's a favorite of yours, isn't it? Yeah. Curry was downright treasure to my old school. It's filling, nutritious, and tends to taste decent no matter who makes it. And apart from the practical appeal, it does fall into the category of food I personally prefer. But if I ever declare myself a curry fanatic in front of Sachi, I'm not the sort of enthusiastic gourmand who makes a habit of advertising his tastes. Is something the matter? No, it's nothing. Well, there's no need to think so hard about something that trivial. By the way, would you mind if I add a little yogurt as seasoning? That's fine, I'm not what you would call a picky eater anyway. As a rule, I eat whatever's put on my plate. I did have that impression even beforehand, yes. I suppose that must make things easier for Amane-san as well? Maybe, but she complains it's less satisfying when there's no challenge. That does seem like Amane-san. Sachi keeps up a natural flow of conversation without ever losing focus on the work at hand. Considering how busy she keeps herself, I don't really have many opportunities to make small talk with Sachi. So this sort of idle conversation feels a bit novel. Come to think of it, when did you start cooking for yourself, Sachi? Shortly after enrolling in this school. Out of necessity, in other words? That's correct. Up until then, Auntie had been providing my meals. Auntie, huh? First I've heard of her, but grilling Sachi about her family would probably fall on the tactless side of things. Not that long then. Seems like you're quick on the uptake. Personally, I've always regarded the intake as my specialty. I'm quite proficient at swallowing pills without water. Sure, whatever. Thank you for your patience. in the time it takes for our conversation to run off the tracks into total incoherence. The Sachi-style curry has reached completion. The curry itself is impressively attractive, and I got no complaints about the smell either. The salad she's added as a sort of garnish appears fresh and appetizing as well, so as a whole, there's no reason to hesitate. Alright then, I'm going to get right to it. Yes, please help yourself. After briefly wringing my hands together for politeness' sake, I scoop up a spoonful of curry and bring it to my mouth. I can summarize my impressions fairly concisely. It's homemade curry. Rather than the spicy variety you might be served at a restaurant, it's mild, soothing comfort food anyone could eat. But for some reason, Sachi's intently watching me eat instead of starting in on her own share. Don't worry, it doesn't seem to be poison. Go ahead and eat, Sachi. Yes, of course. Once I point this out to her, Sachi starts to move her spoon as well. Without much in the way of conversation, we quietly carry spoonful of curry to our mouths. Among other things, the acidity of the yogurt she added as flavoring tempers the aftertaste nicely, so there's no real need to pause. You've already cleaned your plate, so it seems. Before I know it, the reasonably sized helping she'd served me has vanished altogether. Not to worry, I have plenty of powder. I'll bring you a second helping right away. As Sachi leans forward to take my plate, I reflexively reach out and drop a hand on top of her head. Nice work, Sachi. It's not often I actually want a second helping. As I lightly ruffle her hair, a visible jolt of surprise runs through Sachi's body. Ah, sorry, sort of realized I hadn't given you my thoughts or anything. Just a spur of the moment thing. That's quite alright. I was just a little surprised, that's all. In that case, mind if I keep up this praise? I'm astonished. You remembered my request? What, you think I've gone senile or something? Not like it's been long enough for me to forget. I suppose not. Sachi finally smiles. After a few more gentle strokes, I lower my hand from her head. Thank you very much, Kazami-san. Well, sure. Although I know it's not much of a reward considering the effort you put into the meal. Not at all, this is far more than I deserve. Deflecting my words in a light tone of voice, Sachi heads back off towards the kitchen to refill my plate. Guess you could say that's typical of Sachi, but there's such a thing as being too modest. Next, it's time for my ritual oblations. I'll be heading to the grand bath. Once the tableware has all been cleaned away, Sachi announces the next stage of her plans, carefully bouncing a rubber duck on top of her head. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Will you be joining me this time? Thanks for the disturbingly casual invitation, but I didn't bring a towel or a change of clothes. If you're interested, I do have a spare set of male clothes on hand, just for just such an eventuality. Come to think of it, you mentioned something about that the day I moved in. It seems the primary obstacle has been removed. Is it just me, or is there a much bigger obstacle still remaining here, such as, I don't know, common sense? Sorry, but I think I'll pass. I see. Normally I wouldn't have a reason to refuse, but in this case I feel like you need to carefully rethink when and why to make an offer like that. Certainly, if you say so, that's what I'll do. Well, at least she listens to reason. Although I'm far from confident she actually understands the underlying problem here. Well then, I'll be returning in about 30 minutes, so please make yourself at home until then. You don't mind leaving me in your room alone? Incidentally, I already know where you keep your underwear. You read my mind yet again? Not exactly. You told me yourself a few weeks ago, remember? Did I wonder? Did I somehow foresee you would visit my room? Fascinating question, but I'm really not sure why you're asking me. Well then, for now I'll be... Hold it. Just as Sachi moves to open her door, I reach out and intercept her hand. Oh, would you like to join me after all? That's not it. There's someone on the other side of the door. Someone? That said, the only real question is which of the four stooges couldn't contain their curiosity. Alright, listen up. Count to 3, then throw it open with me. Understood. 3, 2, 1. As expected, our sudden action prompts a distinctly feminine shriek. Why did the door just... Glancing down, I find a dumbfounded Sakaki sprawled out on her backside a few feet away. And what are you doing out here? Your room's on the 2nd floor, isn't it? What's it to you? I just happen to have something to take care of in the boiler room today, that's all. Why is it exactly that my classmates are such uniformly terrible liars? That's nice. By the way, Sachi's just heading off to the grand bath, just in case you're curious. Don't tell me you plan to accompany her. Please, I'm staying here, obviously. Well, of course you are. Apparently somewhat relieved by this news, Sakaki lightly brushes her disheveled bangs back into place. More importantly, Kamine-san, Kazami-kun hasn't attempted to coerce you into any questionable behavior, has he? As of the moment, he'd refrain from making any demands of a sexual nature. Convinced now? Surprising as it may seem to you, I'm a gentleman. It's not like I was interested in your chivalry or lack thereof in the first place. Seems Sakaki has decided to trust me for the time being as she abruptly turns away and heads back up the stairs. The girl's got it tough in her own right. Can't be easy going through life with that contrary personality. I believe she's similar to Mitsuru. She's not far removed from the tsundere archetype on the most fundamental level. Might have a point there, sadly. I completed my bath. 30 minutes on the dot after the incident outside her door, Sachi pokes her slightly flushed face back into the room. Get out of there without fainting today, I see. Yes, since Maki-chan and Mane-san explained to me there's no absolute need to count all the way to 10,000. I see. Apparently that brief conversation last night was in fact enough to reset Sachi's bathing behavior to something slightly more sane. And which set of underwear is your favorite? Does the dresser look like it's been disturbed since you left the room? I suppose not. I really don't think that warrants such a disappointed tone of voice. Fighting off a wave of exasperation, I turn my attention from the untouched dresser back to Sachi, to find her staring at me with a distinctly nonplussed expression. Something on your mind? At the moment, I think I should be the very picture of a rosy-cheeked young woman fresh out of the bath. At the very least, you don't resemble a pale old man wheezing after a marathon. What's more, I'm wearing a maid uniform, well known as a reasonable stimulant to the male desire for domination. That you are. In that case, I think it would be entirely understandable for a healthy young man to experience a wave of unspeakable carnal lust right about now. Is that not the case for you, Kazami-san? No, can't say it is. For some reason, I feel as though my genes have just been sentenced to extinction. Relax, I'm not saying you're unattractive. Is that so? Your problem is timing. Under the right circumstances, the sort of event you're imagining is perfectly possible. This isn't one of those times, that's all. I wonder if I'll be able to discern the arrival of a more appropriate moment. Not to worry, if that time comes, you're not going to be able to miss it, even if you want to. Now I see, Kazami-san. My conversations with you are always so enlightening. Although I'm not going to guarantee it'll ever come to that. So it seems like you've generally reached some free time. What are you planning to do next? Go to bed. What? Sleep, as they say in English. Just to be perfectly clear, I wasn't wondering about the meaning of your words. It's not even 9 PM yet, right? Are you seriously planning to sleep already? This is what I normally do in the evening when there's no pressing business. Is turning in early a bad thing? I wouldn't say it's bad, but... Admittedly, I'm hardly an expert on the lifestyle of students these days, but I'm confident there aren't many of them who make a habit of going to bed this early. Especially in the case of young women. For what I've seen, you could add another 12 hours to every night and they still wouldn't have enough time. Do you not watch television or play games? No time at all for recreation? I don't watch television except when Maki-chan asks me to join her. And I only play games when someone from the class invites me. Seriously? Indeed, I'll even commit to swallowing 1,000 needles if I'm lying. Frankly, it's still a little hard to believe that she doesn't relax at all, but from what I see of this room, she certainly doesn't seem to have much in the way of entertainment-oriented belongings. And Sachi's personality being what it is. Guess it really was literally true. Listen carefully to what you're told and get plenty of sleep at night. That's how a good girl behaves. In the instant Sachi delivers that oddly phrased sentence with a smile on her face, I finally realize the nature of the unease I've been feeling about her behavior. It's pretty simple, really. She resembles me. Organizing her life around diligently following orders, she never allows herself to doubt them, let alone defy those who make use of her. And almost as an extension of that, her private activities are a little more than the bare minimum routines of daily existence. The same as me, in other words. Grilling about her recreation is a little more than a little hypocritical on my part. Looking at Sachi, I've been seeing myself, and the discomfort I felt was a reflection of my uncertainty about my own way of life. Are you relieved? Huh? Recently, you seem to have been somewhat concerned about me, Kazami-san. If your anxiety has been even slightly lightened by this visit, I'll be happy to hear it. Well, this is yet another surprise. Didn't think it was so transparent that a schoolgirl could see through me. Alright, I understand that much, but what made you think I was feeling relieved? Because you seem to be smiling just now. Smiling? Yes, it looked that way to me. I remember grinning to myself during that little internal monologue. If anything, the look on my face should have been something like surprise. But apparently something about my face suggested a smile to her. I see. I was right about one thing, you really are an interesting one. In this case, is that a compliment? But at the very least it's better than boring, right? Either way, it strikes me as a rather mixed evaluation. Sachi said relieving my anxiety would make her happy. I'm not sure I understand the exact meaning of those words, but looking back on it, the visit did inspire a mysterious sense of tranquility. Whatever the details, I don't think that can be a bad thing. Before we wrap things up, let's make arrangements to clear up the other matter as well. We were going to see how difficult a question it takes to stump you, remember? So we were, now that you mention it. Summer vacation starts the day after tomorrow, so I might as well take care of that fairly soon. What's your schedule like? Let's see, at present I don't have any major plans. Does that mean you won't be heading home for the break? I can't discount the possibility my uncle will ask me to visit, but otherwise I don't believe so. Guess a slightly less intimate connection with home might not be too surprising when you're living with less immediate relative. So how about starting right off the bat the day after tomorrow? Will that work for you? Yes, that's perfectly alright with me. Alright, we'll assemble in the classroom at 1 PM 2 days from now. 1 in the afternoon the day after tomorrow in our usual classroom, yes? Right. If I'm interpreting this conversation correctly, I just made a promise with you, Kazami-san. Well, I guess you could put it that way. Very well, it's a promise then. Yeah, sure, that's settled. I won't keep you from your sleep any longer. Have a good rest. Certainly. Wait just a moment and I'll prepare your futon as well. Thanks anyway, but it's not going to be necessary. I still haven't overcome the constant unease I feel towards myself, or my doubts about my lax new life in this place. But I've learned something new in the last few days. There's someone else like me here. For some reason, I feel like this objectively pointless little quiz game I've been entrusted with is going to yield interesting results. Not that I have any concrete reason to believe that, but it's not an unpleasant feeling. By the time I reach my room, I'm almost looking forward to it. Subject returned to his room, you know? Looks like he didn't try to pull a sleepover after all. Ooh, come on, you had to know there was nothing to worry about there, Amani. Maybe I did, but I still felt the need to worry. I don't have a friggin' clue what that's supposed to mean. You got a pretty dang difficult personality yourself, kid. But Makina's like the most kid-like out of all of the characters here, right? So what if I do? That's just how girls are, for your information. Good morning, Kazami-san. I entered the classroom a little before the time we agreed to meet. Sachi's already waiting inside. Okay, so we get to look at Sachi's face and, I don't know, a close-up of Yuji's crotch? Is that what we're looking at here? You showed up. Well, yeah, we did have a promise. So we did. Anyway, you came in uniform? Really are class rep to the core, aren't you? To quote the school regulations section of the student handbook, in general, wear your uniform when making use of the school building's facilities. I see. I'm pretty sure Sachi's the only one who's ever bothered to read the fine print at the back of the booklet, but fair enough. Or should I have taken this opportunity to develop a more distinctive style? Perhaps following Michiru-sama's example with dyed hair and a fashionable personality? To be honest, I'm having a hard time picturing you as a bleached blonde tsundere. In that case, I think I'll spend my summer vacations just as I am, if you don't mind. I'll leave that to your discretion. Anyway, I guess the first question is how we should go about testing you. I suppose we begin with kissing practice, yes? Please give me a coherent explanation of how you arrived at that conclusion. My apologies. I thought being all alone with the younger girl might feel somewhat awkward for you, so I was attempting to break the ice as best I could. I appreciate the thought, but your jokes tend to have the opposite effect. How very strange coming from you, Kazami-san. Such criticism truly stings. Things have already taken a dubious turn, but there's no going back now. Alright, I guess I'll choose some questions from material we'll probably be learning in the fall. Feel like starting with any subject in particular? I did spend time studying mathematics yesterday in preparation. Let's start with math and see how far you can go in a day's worth of studying. Alright, next up is a square root problem. Think you can handle it? Would this be the answer? Correct. As soon as I start actually offering her problems, I'm started all over again by Sachi's academic skills. All the questions I'm giving her are from sections of the textbook we haven't learned in class yet, and she's solving them with apparent ease. That doesn't change when I start mixing my own original problems either, so it's clear she didn't just mindlessly memorize the textbook. So what, did you study this yesterday as well? Yes, I did indeed. Just how much did you get through? It would be fair to say I reviewed everything in this textbook from start to finish. If what she's saying is true, she mastered nearly an entire year's worth of material in a single day. I guess that would explain how she's been answering problems we won't be looking up for months so easily. Just for reference, what time did you get to bed last night? I believe it would be fair to say that I didn't. You pulled an all-nighter? Plausible in Sachi's case, but I got one very simple question. Why'd you feel the need to try that hard? When faced with a test, isn't it only normal to study diligently in order to secure a satisfactory result? Sure, but that's hardly a reason to stay up all night. Is it really? In an admirable display of dexterity, Sachi tilts her head to the side in confusion, even though she's nodding her consent. I had similar thoughts about her ridiculous daily preparation for class, but this only confirms my impression. The girl puts in unbelievable effort for the flimsiest of reasons. True, you can wrap everything up by just calling Sachi diligent by nature, but I have a feeling this behavior has something to do with why she's in this school in the first place. Well, whatever the case here, I had to admit you've taken me by surprise here. I didn't expect you to be quite this impressive, and it seems my effort was indeed rewarded. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the range of problems you've solved already would be more than enough to amaze the others. Does that mean our testing's now over? Oh, Flibby, welcome back. Compact claustrophobia, I'm pretty sure I've never heard of it. Mitru and company asked me to find Sachi's true limits. As long as she's continuing to answer the questions correctly, it'd be premature to end the testing. Mind playing along a little longer? By all means, play with me to your heart's content. Are you doing this on purpose? By the time the sun touched the horizon, Sachi had worked her way into questions from next year's math curriculum without a single mistake. And so we agreed to suspend testing for the evening and continue tomorrow. Ah, good morning, Kazami-san. When I returned to the school grounds after my daily running session, Sachi greets me with broom in hand. Sweeping the courtyard today, I see? Yes, the summer vacation has now begun in earnest, so I thought I would take the opportunity to conduct a general cleaning of the school grounds. Not that diligence is a bad thing, but it feels like you're in the middle of some chore every time I run into you. If you preferred me to be a bit lazier, I can slack off within the range permissible for a class representative. Are you really capable of that? Well, so long as you grant me 3 months or so to assert the appropriate boundaries first. In that case, I think I'd rather see you working hard like always. I'm rather glad to hear it. Incidentally, I have a little something for you if you'd like. Trotting over to a bucket full of ice sitting in the shade of a tree, Sachi retrieves a bottle of water and brings it back to me. You had this waiting for me? I knew you'd gone off your morning run, so yes, I was presumptuous enough to prepare refreshments. I see. Thanks, I appreciate that. Please don't mention it. With a few words of thanks, I accept the plastic bottle from Sachi, then drop myself onto a nearby bench and quickly gulp it down. tasty. It looked like a plain bottle of water, but there's a bit of lemon juice and honey added for flavor. Another thoughtful touch on Sachi's part. Typical that the girl didn't say anything about the extra effort she put in. Why not mention it? Might have gotten some of that praise she likes so much. Considering her request for compliments, Sachi doesn't exactly flaunt her accomplishments. Then again, that clumsily selfless side of her personality is probably part of what makes her impossible to dislike. Wait, so how exactly does all of that work anyways? So what exactly do you do in there? As I'm pondering these matters, Sachi returns to her cleaning. Snips and snails and puppy mash. All in the combustible trash. Might not set your heart on fire, but it'll burn nice on the fire. Hey Sachi, can you maybe give this particular song a rest? Oh, worry about it getting stuck in your head? No, to be perfectly frank, it doesn't really work for you. A maid cheerfully singing gruesome jingles as she cleans is just too surreal. But Maki-chan specifically stated I'm releasing this song under a Creative Commons license, so make sure to sing it when you clean. I'm merely... Right, I get the picture. Looks like I'll have to take this up with our budding songwriter. But either way, you really seem to enjoy sweeping. I suppose so. When I was young, my mom and dad would praise me for cleaning the house, so I always thought of it as like my special skill. Your parents sound like nice people. Yes, I love them both very much. Past tense, huh? This is the first time I've heard Sachi talk about her parents, but her expression visibly softened when she mentioned them. Even putting aside her pathologically honest personality, you can tell from a look at her face she's not lying about how much she loved them. Come to think of it, I did have one other acquaintance who enjoyed cleaning up. Although that was a long time ago. Come on, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm picking up the trash. I mean, next time I come here to play, wouldn't it be nicer to find the place clean? She was the sort of kid who'd actually go up around picking up the garbage scattered around the playground after playing. I think she was younger than me, but her sheer energy and forceful personality made it feel like the opposite. The girl was a genuine tomboy, constantly laughing and running around. Pretty much the polar opposite of our docile maid like Sachi. Is something the matter, Kusami-san? No, it's nothing. I see. But still, it's pretty unusual for me to remember something from before I met my master. Since my memories before that point are all pretty much pointless ones, I'd rather erase from my mind. In the otherwise quiet classroom, the constant movement of pen on paper is the only real sound. After lunch, Sachi and I picked up the testing where we left off yesterday. Kazami-senpai, what do you think you're staring at? Sachi suddenly covers her chest with both hands, as if only now realizing I'm watching her. Geez, you were so insistent about testing my academic ability or whatever, but maybe you're really after something else entirely? Continuing in the same tone, she offers me a coquettish smile. And what if I am? Alright then, if you absolutely insist, Kazami-senpai, I guess I'll teach you about girls. Spurred on by the intimate atmosphere of a one-on-one meeting, a younger girl summons up her courage and makes a flirtatious approach. Normally, this is exactly the sort of gift horse no red-blooded man would think twice about accepting, but... I wonder why I'm not even getting slightly in the mood. What? You got an adorable underclassman bravely throwing herself at you here. Isn't that a little harsh? Okay, you can stop the act. Certainly. Once I get the signal, Sachi's attitude snaps instantly back to normal. Was my ability as an actress unequal to the task after all? No, if anything, I think you're a bit too convincing. If I didn't know Sachi, I'm pretty sure I would have bought that as her real personality, but since I do, the contrast was kind of bizarre. In other words, casting aside my sense of shame and diving wholeheartedly into the role actually backfired? Do you have any sense of shame to cast aside in the first place? What are you saying, Kazami-san? I'm the very model of a shy young lady. Not sure if I agree with you there. In my experience, shy people don't generally take their clothes off in front of others. But that's hardly anything to be embarrassed about, is it? Oh, Rika, welcome back, and yeah, long time no see. Does she seriously believe that? The girl's definitely something else. I'll know in this case, that's not necessarily a compliment. More importantly, may I ask you why you requested that I assume the role of a slightly selfish underclassman who knows how to tickle the hearts of older men? Right. Guess it was sort of my modest attempt at getting back at you for coming so well prepared. Was it wrong of me to study for the test? The point of this is to determine the limits of your academic ability, but the more you study, the more those limits go up, right? At this rate, the testing might never actually end. I see, so that was your point of concern? As a matter of fact, I'm giving her problems even harder than yesterday's. She's still working her way smoothly through every question. I do apologize, I hadn't even considered the possible inconvenience. No, it's my fault for not saying anything about cramming beforehand. Just try not to approach this quite so seriously from now on. Yes, I understand. Incidentally, I'd like to ask you for something, just for reference. Alright, good night, Toasty. Would I be correct in concluding your specifications for that performance align with your taste in females? No, it's just that younger women I've known tended to act something like that. So I had me assume such a personality. Well, when I was talking to you in the courtyard earlier, I remembered one in particular. Struck me that this girl was pretty much the exact opposite of an obedient maid type like you, Sachi. I got kind of interested in seeing if you could pull it off. Well, if I'm being perfectly honest with myself, the part about tickling the hearts of older men might have been tacked on for other reasons. In other words, the request was motivated by simple curiosity. Yeah, so anyway, that's not particularly my type or anything. I see. Apparently satisfied with my explanation, Sachi closes her eyes and nods deeply. That's a very familiar gesture, but it's rare for her to ask us many questions of me in the first place. By the way, what do you think about that sort of person? When I ask for Sachi's thoughts as an extension of this little experiment, she pauses for a moment before replying. Her expression suddenly grows serious. I think that being selfish is a bad thing. Bad thing, eh? Yes. I've noticed before that Sachi's judgments tend to be delivered in simple black and white terms. In particular, she has something of a habit of dividing things between the good and the bad. I always thought it was a minor quirk, but from the strange emphasis she places on those words, I'm beginning to think this might be a central part of her worldview. Well, I guess that's enough of a break. Let's get back to the tests. Certainly. Deciding to refocus on the reason we're here, I cut off our meandering conversation. Sachi responds by promptly turning her notebook to a fresh page of paper. What will be next? Shall I work my way sequentially through another textbook like yesterday? I'm gonna jump a few steps and start giving you problems from material we're not scheduled to learn in this school. No wonder they call you sadist and incarnate, Kazami-san. Utterly ruthless, even to your submissive younger classmates. Don't really have a choice, you're just that good. With such masterful alternation between the carrot and the stick, I'm quietly reduced to mere putty in your hands. I'm giving you the problems now, alright? As the scenery outside begins to take on the orange tint of early twilight, Sachi's pen comes to a halt after the last problem of the day. Solved it? I reached an answer, but I'm not especially confident that it's correct. Haven't seen her this uncertain about a problem yet, but let's see. Picking up Sachi's notebook, I compare her work against the answer in the collection of problems. Well, it's correct. I'm very glad to hear that. Apparently Sachi's lack of confidence was genuine rather than an attempt at modesty, judging from the way she slumps back in her chair with a relieved smile. From the look of things, she finally might make her first mistake tomorrow. I must admit, I'm rather tired after all that mental exercise. In that case, let's take it easy for a little while. I'll buy you something to drink. If possible. If you want some soda in particular, better say it now. That's not the nature of my request. I see, so that's what this is about. Taking an educated guess from Sachi's attitude, I gently bring my hand to rest on top of her head. You did good today, Sachi. And this time I begin to slowly stroke her hair back and forth. Sachi lets out a quiet sigh as her eyes fall closed. Must have tickled a bit. You make the same face every time I do this, you know that? Reminds me of a kitten having its face cleaned by its mother. By which you mean I'm just that adorable? By which I mean you're just that defenseless. I suppose you're right about that. At the moment I think it's entirely possible I'd surrender unconditionally. To what? Alright, that about enough? Yes, thank you very much. I finally stop petting Sachi once my hand grows warm from the motion. He responds with a polite little bow of thanks. Kind of an odd request though, not like having your head stroked is gonna help with your fatigue, is it? That's not true at all. Your hand provides more of a boost than guzzling 10 energy drinks, Kazami-san. That a fact? Impressively forceful and earnest words. Although I can't say that makes them any less bizarre. But still, I've gotta watch my step around this girl. Lately, these little petting sessions have started to feel oddly pleasant on my end as well. Alright, so we're done with the testing for today. You have any other plans? Yes, I promised Maki-chan I'd watch television with her at 7 o'clock. In that case, let's get back to the dorm before she starts throwing a temper tantrum. Yes. Hey yo, Sachin! The instant we enter the dorm, Makina is shouting in our faces, almost as if she foresaw the exact moment of her return. Huh? There's still some time before we're going to meet up, isn't there? Yep, this is something else entirely. I want to get this back to you. As she speaks, Makina holds something out to Sachi. Judging from this familiar strap featuring Tunafish Man's arch-nemesis General Sparrows, this cell phone's yours, isn't it? Yes, it is, but where'd you find it? Just a little while ago. I decided to take a dip before dinner. Found the sucker pulling off a solo scuba diving expedition in the big bath upstairs. What do you know? Cell phones go diving as well? Or maybe you just dropped it when you were cleaning? You never cease to amaze me, Kazami-san. Your deductive reasoning would put Mr. Nakamura himself to shame. Who the hell is Mr. Nakamura? Putting aside that particular mystery, it's pretty surprising that Sachi didn't realize it was missing. It's all good that I found it, but this thing's playing dead pretty stubborn-like. Going underwater is probably going to be fatal unless you have some special waterproof model. In that case. Accepting her cell phone from Makina, she gently slides it inside her clothing. Why'd you stuff it between your boobies? It broke because it got wet, so maybe warming it up will fix it? Just to be sure, that was an attempt at a joke, right? It ain't mannerly to say something here, you know. This slightly ditzy side of it is a big part of Sachin's charm. We've got a responsibility to preserve it for future generations. I see. Alright, Sachi, forget I asked. For some reason, I feel as though my image is deteriorating rapidly behind my back. It's all good. It ain't slander if it's true. Is that so? I'm sure your image is important too, but I think you should be more worried about getting a replacement for that phone as soon as possible. Never know when you'll really need it. That's true, I had to visit a retailer at the first opportunity. Right. What you up to next, Oni-chan? We ran into each other and all, so how about watching some TV with us? Can't say I've had any plans, but... in that case, come cheer for Tunafish Man with us. Tunafish Man is a Sunday morning show, right? And more importantly, wouldn't it be kind of creepy if I really did start cheering on fresh fish superheroes with you? Very much so. I'll peel your like banana here and now, you bogus maid. Oh dear, Maki-chan, my virtue appears to be in grave danger. You sure as hell aren't acting like it. Oh, what's this weird feeling swirling inside my deliciously flat chest? I don't really get it, but this must be what your average 46-year-old father feels like when his precious little poopsie gets carted off by some random bum with a tattoo on his bicep. Not gonna lie, I'm definitely curious to see what, like, the next day has in store. So I guess I'll just play to the end of that. There's no such thing as a woman who hates being complimented. One day when I casually complimented my master's appearance, he praised me in return with those words. From what she told me, the rule applies even to women who claim to dislike flattery. Sometimes complaining is just another way of reacting to happiness. Yuji! Hello there, Mitsuru. Your famous twin tails are looking particularly good this morning. What? Well, where's this coming from all of a sudden? It's not like a compliment from you is gonna make me happy or anything. Mitru, whose gimmick is a prickly son attitude, may say this. But judging from the way she's happily playing with her hair, she skips up the stairs. I don't think my master spoke in error. I'm pretty sure I picked up a knack for this sort of thing unconsciously at a fairly young age. Playing outside for hours at a time to escape the awkward atmosphere at home. I developed a sly habit of ingratiating myself with the other kids through lavish praise. Awesome, I can't believe you can do that, or you got 100 points on your test, that's amazing, or whatever else seemed called for. Looking back on it, I was kind of a creepy little brat in that respect. But as long as I kept up the compliments, nobody tried to harm me. And there were even some eccentrics who'd actively play with an otherwise gloomy little introvert like me. Okay, watch carefully, here goes. Hiya! Well, did I pull it off? Thanks. I don't think it's that amazing, but today, the first time I managed it. I want to shoot you first, Yukun. Of course, since I'd always thought of myself as the worthless scrap left over after the formation of my genius sister. I was probably pretty sincere in believing everyone I met superior to me. Good morning to you, Kazami-san. And here we have an exemplary personification of my master's teachings. Given an open choice of any rewards, Sachi specifically requested my praise. It's probably safe to say she fundamentally longs to be complimented. So do tell me, what variety of indecent disgrace is Michiru-sama enduring inside your mind at the moment? I'd love to hear how you arrived at that question. As you watched her leave, you seemed to be thinking about something, and there was a rather complex expression on your face. Let me get this straight. You think a complex expression on my face means I'm indulging in obscene delusions? Yes. And sometimes I wonder if she fundamentally longs to be smacked upside the head. Not to change the subject, but will today's testing begin at 1 PM as well? That's right, but like I said yesterday, no cramming for this one. I was planning to continue yesterday's cleaning operation for the rest of the morning, so I wouldn't really have time to study in any case. You're still making the rounds? It's far more pleasant to find the places you use nice and clean after all. With those words, Sachi pumps her fist slightly into the air, still clutching her broom. Maybe it's because she's allowed to wear this uniform more frequently during vacation, but the girl seems to be turning into even more of a maid by temperament. While devoting yourself to volunteer work is all well and good, but make sure you don't give yourself heat stroke out there. Of course, in order to stave off overheating, I'll think about nice and cool things as I work. I think I'm going to have to check up on her later for safety's sake. A little before 1 PM, a harsh, familiar electronic buzz from my breast pocket interrupts a leisurely afternoon. JB, huh? Is there anyone with you right now? After a moment of faint electronic noise, I hear a low, steady voice on the other end of the line. Her tone is enough to tell me this is a phone call from my superior, not my guardian. No worries, I'm by myself at the moment. Good, we need to talk business. Judging from the hurried way JB's speaking, it seems this particular call may not have planned mid-plan in advance. Something serious might have come up unexpectedly. Do we have something troublesome on our hands? The mission's gonna be brief, but it's difficult to anticipate exactly how things will play out, so yes, you could call it troublesome. In other words, you want me as insurance in case things go south? Very perceptive. As an acting reserve, you've been ordered to semi-alert status for the duration of this job. Can you be prepared within 10 minutes? I'll be ready in 5. Don't thank me before a job, it's bad luck. Right, sorry about that. Anyway, where do you need me? Make your way to the location I'm sending over now. You'll meet up with your colleagues there. Affirmative. Interesting. Quickly begin to change my work clothes, I see. Well, that's crappy timing. I don't have any problem with doing the job I'm paid for, but I had plans with Sachi in the immediate future. And I can't just call to let her know since her cell phone's out of commission. Please be in the dorm. I throw open my door with a little prayer, startling Sachi as she's sweeping the lobby. Sachi, good timing! Calm yourself, Kazami-san. If you need a freshly used maid uniform, just give me a moment and... Sorry, I don't have time to play along with stupid jokes right now. I just now got called to work. Important job came up out of nowhere. Which would mean today's testing is cancelled, I suppose? As Sachi murmurs those words, there's a clear shade of regret on her face. It's one of the more easily comprehensible expressions I've ever seen from the normally poker-faced Sachi. No, I'm not cancelling, but I need to change the plan a bit. I had been planning to say anything of the sort, but I find the words coming out of my mouth naturally. That look on her face probably had a lot to do with it. Would that really be alright? Yeah. JB said the job's going to be quick, so I should be back in a few hours. Oh, I see. By all means then. That would be perfectly alright with me. Alright, wait for me at the usual place, Sachi. Let's say 5 PM. In that case, I might be slightly late. Would that be alright? Slightly late? Does she have some other plans for this afternoon? Fine by me. There's a possibility I'll be late myself, so don't worry about it. Thank you very much. I'll be waiting in the usual place at 5 PM. That's a promise. After giving Sachi a quick pat on the head, I immediately rush out the front door. Eyes fixed on my cell phone screen, I follow the directions JB sent me to the letter. When specifying a rendezvous point through electronic means, the instructions are always split into multiple parts in such a way that it's impossible to determine the end location without cross-referencing every message. Apparently this is a security measure of some sort, but it's an incredible pain in the ass for the person actually receiving the orders. As I draw near to my initial destination, a second set of instructions arrives. The map attached in a new email. There's a single red dot. There we are. Overlaying the map with a visual scan of my surroundings, I determined that the point in question indicates a small public park. This isn't the first time in this neighborhood, but I never knew there was a park here. I met that kid in a park not too different from this one, back in the days when I was a gloomy brat without any real friends. My sister was a prodigy, especially as an artist, and the most I could do was stay out of her way. So I made a daily routine of heading off to a public park with a playground, located a few miles away from her house. I went out of my way to choose one a good distance away, killed a little more time walking out and back, and better still, nobody there knew who I was. When I was idling around that playground, I didn't have to deal with my people comparing me to my older sister, and I didn't have to listen to my father's vicious insults. I guess you could say it was the closest thing I had to a safe space. But the days spent playing with the sand by myself didn't last long. One day that girl marched right up to me. I don't remember much of the conversation except for the conclusion. Okay then, let's play together. Wasn't asking either. Without giving me time to think it over, she pulled me around that tiny park all day long. She was an unbelievably pushy kid, to be sure, laughed and smiled more than anyone else I've ever known, but she never asked me more about myself than I wanted to tell. In other words, playing with her wasn't too bad on my end, either. Before I knew it, I was heading to that park specifically for that purpose. Of course, that only lasted a short while before that day came, but I think that kid was a major reason I was able to endure everything I was going through back then. Okay, this really isn't the time to get all sentimental. As if to reinforce the point, a white minivan with a suddenly different atmosphere draws to a halt a little ways away. Take care of the job first, think later. Here we are, good job out there. Roused from a half-unconscious state by JB's voice, I removed my sleep mask and stepped out of the car. Appreciate you dropping me off to school and all, but I've got to say, this car is a little too conspicuous. Noisy on top of flashy. That's exactly what I like about my little prancing horse. Don't think I'll ever understand your sense of aesthetics. Well, I guess she's probably not alone. I can picture Amani's eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. Heaving a small sigh. I glanced to my side where JB's currently peering through the grate into the school grounds. Looking for something in particular? Well, just wondering if anyone's going to welcome you back today, you know? Figured as much. Look, JB, I do understand the urge to mess around with the younger generation, but I really appreciate it if you could resist the impulse to make my life harder. Oh, come on. Here I am, going out of my way to add a little spice to your love life, and this is the thanks I get? If you're that concerned about my libido, how about you help me out? Oh, How scary! I'd best beat a hasty retreat before I fall prey to the stormy passions of youth. Giving me a little shove on the back as she passes by, JB slides smoothly back into the driver's seat of her car. Okay then, Gigi. I'll see you when I see you. Hold it, woman. Or not. JB really lives for these little visits, doesn't she? I'm back a good 15 minutes before 5. I'll be in plenty of time to meet up with Sachi. No reason to show up in my work uniform then, might as well change first. When I arrive precisely on time, I find the classroom completely empty. Pretty unusual for Sachi, makes a habit of showing up at the exact time specified. Come to think of it, she did say she might be a little late. Guess I'll wait for a while. Okay, she's really late. Half dozing in the chair, I flopped down onto this some time ago. I mumble to myself and glance up at the clock. It's a solid hour past the time we agreed to meet. At this point, you'd expect some sort of contact. Might as well see if any of the others know anything. Whoa, an intruder? When I return to the door, Makina is standing by the shoe rack. The instant I push open the door, she swiftly hides something or other inside. I'm not going to tell you not to play pranks on Michiru and Sakaki, but keep it in moderation, alright? Everyone in this dorm is repressing a forbidden desire to see Chiru and Yumi-chan completely flip out. And I'm just the wicked woman to give them what they truly want. Right, sure, fascinating. On a different note, do you know where Sachi went? Schwa? What are you talking about, Ii-chan? Weren't you guys playing today? That was the plan, but I waited for an hour after the time we set, and she didn't show up. That's friggin' weird. You could bury Sachi in the Mariana Trench and she still wouldn't be late for her next appointment. Right, which is why I thought something else might have come up. I'd love to say something comes to mind, but I didn't hear anything about it like that. Sure you didn't ask her for a favor or something? I haven't even seen her today, you know? I see. This doesn't look very promising, but just in case I should try our other classmates as well. Sorry, Makina, but can you help me round up the others? Aye aye, Captain! Fortunately, the other 3 were still in the dorm, so it doesn't take long to collect everyone in the lobby. Sorry about the sudden meeting, but do you have any idea where Sachi's gotten to? Now that you mention, I haven't seen her at all this afternoon. Same for me. How about you, Sakaki? Actually, I did see Kamine-san leaving the dorm a little after 3. Seriously? Yes, she was in her school uniform, so I assumed she was heading off to study with Kazami-kun again. Was I mistaken? Hard to say. We promised to meet in the classroom at 5, but Sachi never showed. That's weird. As soon as the words leave my mouth, 3 voices respond in an uneasy chorus. Apparently I'm not the only one more than a little surprised by Sachi blowing off a pre-arranged meeting. Mind if I say something? After a moment of silence, Michiru raised her hand tentatively into the air. What is it, Michiru? Has some relevant information come to mind? Not really information, but I think there's a way to clear this problem up right away if you're interested. Really? Nice job, Michiru. I don't think it's anything that special, but sort of a Michiru-style strategy, I guess? I see. By all means, please share your insight with us. Guess I will, since you asked so nicely. Spit out already, Bottle Blonde. Buh! Ah, the glare of the death! Okay, look, I'm only gonna say this once, so everyone grit your teeth and listen carefully. Hear and be amazed. All we need to do is call Sachi on her cell phone. Problem solved! Well, pretty good stuff, right? What? Why is everybody giving me that for crying out loud look? Because that's exactly what we're all thinking. No way. Please don't tell me that was the extent of your proposal, Matsushima-san. Yeah, I mean... What, did I say something weird? That's not the problem here. Wouldn't you take it as given that you tried that before gathering us here? In the first place, Sachi's phone is out of commission at the moment. Huh? Sachi's cell broke? Yeah, it was discovered diving in the bathtub just last night. Indeed it was. Oh, well, no way I could have known that. A weak attempt at a smile flashed awkwardly across her face. Michiru shrinks before her eyes. Well, as Michiru's ideas go, I guess that was a pretty decent train of thought. It's alright, Amane. I'm destined to be the unhappiest girl with twin tails and all of Mishima Cape. That's a rather narrow field of competition. Hey, don't let it get you down, Chiru. Life ain't all bad, right? Weird. Being comforted by you somehow makes me feel even worse. Ranking gratitude! See if I ever offer you such a sincerely half-assed attempt at kindness again. Maybe it was a mistake to bring these people into the discussion in the first place. Anyway, isn't this kind of bad? We don't have any way of getting in touch with Sachi, do we? Maybe we should contact the police or something. It may seem like a serious situation to us, but the police aren't going to start looking for someone who's only been gone a few hours. Even putting that aside, Komine-san isn't a child. Contacting the police at this stage would be a bit of an overreaction, don't you think? She did tell me she might be late, for one thing. In that case, all the more so. Nodding with evident conviction, Sakaki closes her eyes. Objectively speaking, her argument is definitely reasonable. I guess Sakaki-san's probably right about this one. Michiru and Makina seem to reach the same conclusion. The group looks silently in my direction, anticipating a decision. Okay, let's wait and see for the moment. If Sachi still isn't back by this evening, I'll get in touch with the principal and ask her about the next step. Yeah, I think that's the best approach. I'm with you there! Yeah, me too. Alright then. I'm gonna try waiting in the classroom again for Sachi, but I'd like a volunteer to contact me in case she comes back to the dorm instead. Leave that to me. I'll stick around with Makina as well. I'm kind of worried about Sachin. In that case, Yumiko and I can go search her outside. What? Excuse me? I don't remember agreeing to this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you plan to go out looking for her on your own anyway. Well... Since these four spent considerably more time living with Sachi, there's no question they understand her better than I do. Considering that, there's no reason to refuse their help when it's voluntarily offered. Sorry for the hassle, I appreciate this. Ain't no thing. Make sure to steadfastly carry out your own mission, Oni-chan. Yeah. This late already? Before I know it, the hour hands crept past 9. Still no sign of Sachi and no word from the others. This is getting beyond weird and into worrisome territory. When I return to the dorm, Amane and Makina jump up from their positions, watching the doorway and rush over. What's the deal? Did Sachi come back? No. She didn't come to the classroom, at least. Oh. Their shoulders drooped simultaneously at the news. I looked up and down in the shopping district, but there was no sign of her. I didn't see anyone resembling her around the station either. Beads of sweat running down their foreheads, Michiru and Sakaki offer similar reports in identical tones of regret and concern. I see, sorry to make you run around this heat. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm doing this for your sake, I'm just worried about Sachi. How was that? Pretty good, right, Yumiko? I hope you really don't expect me to answer that question. Okay, Michiru's skills at Tsundere is really not that important right now. At this point, the odds that Sachan's really gone missing feel a lot higher. Think it's time to talk it over with Chizu? Yeah, you're right. And then I dial her number. Hello? It's me, sorry to call so late. You're calling my cell phone, is something wrong? To summarize matters concisely, Sachi's gone missing. Komine-san of all people? Yeah, we made pretty clear plans, but she stood me up. Hasn't come back to the dorm since. Komine-san broke a promise? There's a slight hint of tension in the principal's voice now. Apparently we're not the only ones surprised by the idea of Sachi blowing off an appointment like this. Exactly how long has she been missing? The last time anyone saw her would be a good 6 hours ago, and unfortunately she doesn't have a cell phone on her at the moment. Without a way of contacting her, this gets considerably more difficult. That will be why I'm reporting to you. As the principal of this school, what do you think we should do about this? Let's see. First of all, I'm going to inform Komine-san's family of the circumstances and get an idea of how they'd like to handle this. Seems like a bit of a leisurely approach, frankly. It may be somewhat unusual, but this school is an officially sanctioned educational institution operating under the same regulations as any other. I can't change the procedure for this sort of thing. Right. Well, unquestionably the correct judgment as leader of her organization. That said, I share your concerns. So I'm also going to take immediate action as an individual, I understand. So that's it. Considering how rapidly she formulated this calm and rational approach to the situation, it's probably safe to trust Chizuru's judgment on the specific details. Guess you're not sitting in the most comfortable chair in the building for nothing. Nice to hear, I suppose. I understand what you're thinking in general, but what should we be doing right now? Honestly, I'd like you to wait patiently for me to settle things, but I imagine that's not going to happen. You imagined correctly. Good job. Putting aside all the rest, I'm a teacher entrusted with 6 students, you know? That you are. That said, I don't want anyone other than you running around outside in the middle of the night. Please make that very clear to them. Right, that's probably wise. Reckless action could very well end up expanding the scale of our problem. I'll let you know immediately when I have any news. Yeah, please do. What'd she say, Yuji? She's gonna get in touch with Sachi's family first and talk with her guardians about how to proceed. Oh. Well, I kind of figured it would be something like that. Yeah. After all, there must be some relatively complicated family circumstances involved if they're sending their child to this school. She promised to get in touch immediately if there's any major developments. In other words, she's asking us to sit on our hands. More or less. Why the heck would we do that? We should all be out pounding the pavement in search of Sachin. I'll handle that. Why just you, Oni-chan? Because if we went out looking for Komine-san right now, there's a possibility it would give rise to a secondary disaster. Secondary? What's that supposed to mean? It means that the young women wandering around alone in the middle of the night could very well go missing themselves. Right, you have a point. No need to worry about that. I've got all that super self-defense you taught me, Oni-chan. Sorry, not good enough. God, I don't want to sit around waiting. I'm worried about Sachin. Makana's voice is unusually fraught with emotion, and small tears of frustration are forming in the corners of her eyes. She's the same age as Sachi and plays with her more than anyone else. Makana might well be the most upset out of all of us right now. Hey Makana, I understand how you feel, but let's leave that to Yuji for now, okay? Sachan might come back while he's out looking too. We need to be here to hold down the fort. Yeah. I got it. Clinging tightly to Hamane from behind, Makana slowly begins to regain her composure. As long as these two are together, I probably don't have to worry about her doing anything reckless. Okay, I'm going to head out and look for Sachi. You be careful yourself, alright? There's a lot of weird people out there these days. Right. Answering Michiru's anxious words with a nod, I walk up to Sakaki, who's been standing a little apart from the rest of the group. Giving her a light tap on the shoulder, I lean in and speak in a low voice. Sakaki, if something comes up while I'm gone, I want you to take charge. Why should I have to? Because I trust your judgment in the crisis. If Amane and Michiru lose their heads and try to do something reckless, I'm depending on you to step in and stop them. You do have a talent for playing dirty. Yeah, sorry about that. Taking note of the slight redness in Sakaki's cheeks, I leave the dorm on a run, silently thanking my master for her insight. Alright, first problem is, where do I start? I don't know why Sachi vanished or where she went this afternoon. I got nothing in the way of clues to work off. Given that, my only real option is to speculate based off our normal pattern of activity, but I'm no expert there. Might as well look again in the classroom. After a brisk journey to the school building, I peek into our classroom, my heart pounding more from tension than the exercise. It's silent, dark, and totally empty. Not here after all. But still, there's always a possibility Sachi will wander in here while I'm out looking for her. To protect against the risk they'll pass each other by, I should probably leave her a message of some sort. Grabbing a thick piece of paper from a supply closet, I write, Sachi, if you see this, head back to the dorm right away. In large letters with a permanent marker. That done, I secure the note in the middle of the blackboard with a few pieces of tape. That should do it. A moment later, my personal cell phone rings shrilly in my pocket. That you, Chizuru? I thought I'd give you an update. If possible, they'd like to avoid making this into a conspicuous public spectacle, but ultimately they're leaving the decisions to the academy. I see. From the sound of it, Sachi's family does indeed have some complicated circumstances of their own. So what's the next step for you? First of all, I'm going to contact every police station in the prefecture, one by one, and see if any are currently sheltering a young girl. I see, same thing you pulled when I arrived here. Yes, the student body of this academy is rather famous for other reasons. The conversations should go relatively smoothly. Good to hear, I think. If that doesn't get us any results, I suppose we will have to formally report her as a missing person. Right. Hypothetically speaking, if Sachi's left the prefecture, a larger scale effort involving sheer numbers and brute power would become necessary. Do you intend to look for Kamina-san during that time? I'm the one who promised to meet up with her. I've got a responsibility to find out what happened. I suppose. I'll be in touch as soon as I have further news. Hopefully that'll get us some information. On the other hand, if she comes up empty, we run smack into a demoralizing dead end. Unless, of course, I find a new lead first. For now, that's all I need to be thinking about. Alright, I guess I'll see if the others have any ideas about places Sachi frequents. This tension reminds me of the job, but unlike those neatly defined missions, it's a frustrating hunt in the dark, groping blindly for clues. And this time, I'm not chasing down some faceless target I'll never know. The person I'm searching is for a classmate, a friend. Pressing the cell phone to my ear, I sprint down the hallway, trying to drown out my uneasiness through mindless motion. Oni-chan! Yuji! The instant I push open the front door, Maka and Michiru rush up unexpectedly. Did you find Sachin? No. I tried everywhere you suggested she might go on all the public gathering spots I can think of, but no sign of her. Okay, so any news from the principal? She let me know that none of the police stations in the prefecture are looking after a girl. Nothing since then. Understandably enough, the two grow downcast as they speak. Sakaki and Amane might have hung back instead of rushing up to interrogate me, but it seems the news has a similar effect on them. I hear small, frustrated sighs from their direction. Then let's get back out there looking for her. It's not dark out anymore, so this time I can help too. Hold it, Makina. Huh? I understand you worry about Sachan, but let's give Yuji some time to rest, okay? He's been running outside all night looking for her. I wasn't thinking. Sorry for being such a selfish kid, Oni-chan. There's nothing to apologize for, that's a natural reaction. There's just no getting around the fact that I didn't find Sachi. Here, Yuji, dry yourself off. Appreciate it. Catching the towel Amani tosses in my direction, I wet cold rainwater from my hair and shoulders. When you're done with that, go warm yourself up in the bath, or at the very least, take a hot shower. Don't really feel like it right now. I don't care if you feel like it. Take one anyway. I know you think you're pretty tough, but no one's immune to hypothermia. Alright. Her argument's logical, and she delivered it with such a painfully stoic expression that I can't bring myself to be stubborn. The rain's gotten a lot stronger, hasn't it? Gazing out the windows into the grey sky, Amane mutters to no one in particular. The rain started falling a little before dawn and hasn't let up since. If anything, the sound of water drumming against the building seems to grow louder with the passage of time. I hope Sachi at least found some shelter. Don't worry. Even if she is outside, I'm sure she'd buy herself an umbrella. You're right, of course she would. Somebody breaks the silence, venting some new concern that's been pushed its way into their mind. Someone else offers their best attempt at soothing words, and we're left listening to the rain once more. Since my return, we've repeated this pattern more times than I can count. A little after 9, Shizuru called to let me know she's given formal notice to the police. It's been nearly 4 hours since then. The most helpful thing you can do at this point, since we decide to rely on the authorities, is keep calm and stay out of the way. The police are fundamentally superior in terms of manpower and investigative skills, on top of which they have the critical advantage of socially sanctioned authority. In other words, we should let professionals take care of the rest. A completely understandable judgment for a principal to make. Objectively, it's probably the wisest possible course of action. But however rational it may be, sitting around quietly like this is proving very hard to stomach. I spent longer than this standing by on the job, but it feels completely different this time. The anxiety and frustration swirling around inside me seem to be growing exponentially with every hour that ticks by. It's increasingly a struggle to maintain my cool. Then I'll be waiting in the usual places of approximately 5 p.m. Sachi definitely said those exact words to me just a few feet from where I'm sitting. And when Sakaki and Amane went into a room to investigate, they didn't find any evidence she wandered off on some spur-of-the-moment journey. The girl does have a slightly whimsical side, but it's hard to imagine her taking a trip without even packing a change of clothes. What does Sachi think she's doing? Suddenly leaping up from the sofa, Michiru breaks the silence, her voice tinged with something close to desperation. Does that girl have any idea how worried we are? She better not think I'm gonna let her off the hook. Cleaning all her rooms isn't gonna cut it this time. Michiru. It's been a whole day since Sachi went missing. I'm sure her tummy's rumbling like crazy by now. I don't know what Sachin's up to, but I'm sure she's not going hungry. Really? Her wallet wasn't in her room apparently. She's got money to eat at least. That's good to hear. But if she's gotten caught up in something, all bets are off. Hey Yumiko, don't even say things like that. You can't deny the possibility exists. Well, nobody's come out and said until now, but we've all been thinking of something of the sort. We all know Sakaki's right. Considering Sachi's personality, it's hard to imagine she'd vanish without a word. And the completely normal condition of her room makes this even stranger. No matter how much I want to deny it, there's a very real possibility something happened to her. So did Sachi get kidnapped by bad guys? It'll be okay. I mean, we don't even know that yet. Unable to fully deny that unpleasant possibility, Michiru's voice grows weak and uncertain. Michiru's right. As long as we don't hear anything from the police or Sachi herself, we can't make any assumptions, and until then, we need to do what we can. Apparently the others are just as fed up with waiting around as I am. The instant the words leave my mouth, they lean in towards me with intent expressions on their faces. You're right. First of all, let's go through everything, starting from the top. We've all heard it by now, but can you describe your conversation with Sachan yesterday one more time, Yuji? Every detail you can remember. Yesterday morning, Sachi and I agreed to continue the testing at 1 PM as usual. But I got called to my part-time job at the last minute. I told Sachi we'd reschedule for 5 in the afternoon. Said she might be a little late, asked if that'd be alright. A little late, huh? We've been checking that classroom regularly since yesterday, but this isn't a little late no matter how you cut it. Yeah, definitely not. After that, she just confirmed she'd be waiting in the usual place as of 5 PM. Sounds like she at least intended to head to the classroom. I guess so, but wait. Was the usual place really the classroom? I see, that might just be it. What do you mean? With that one sentence, everyone, with the exception of a certain blah, instantly grasped what Sakaki's implying. If that's what's happened, everything sort of fits. It's definitely coherent, but... Hey, hold it! Will you people stop agreeing with each other long enough to explain this to me? Please! Abject groveling out of nowhere! Alright, Suo-san, would you be so kind? Amane sits up to explain. You know that Sacha never turns down a favor or breaks a promise, don't you? Simplest answer is that she's waiting for Yuji just like she promised. But she never showed up in the classroom. And that's the crux of the matter. Yuji might have meant the classroom when he said the usual place, but... we don't know if that was true for Sachan as well now, do we? Oh, now I get it! At this point, Amane finally succeeds in shoving Michiru's train of thought down the tracks to the point everyone else passed 5 minutes ago, prompting an overblown reaction. I didn't explicitly tell her to wait in the classroom. There's a possibility she went somewhere else entirely. To wait. Normally, anyone would know I was referring to the classroom, but in Sachi's case, a misunderstanding of some kind seems disturbingly plausible. Right, makes sense. Where would be the usual place for Sachi? That would be the problem, I suppose. Even if Komine-san really is waiting in a different location, we really aren't likely to find her unless we gain some idea where that might be. True enough. To be honest, I don't know what she could have thought I meant other than the classroom. Did Sachi say anything else at all? Nothing else about the location anyway. Try to remember all the places you've ever gone with Sachi, and she gotta be waiting in one of them. I've been trying. Outside the school grounds, the only place that comes to mind is the shopping district. But if she was hanging around over there, somebody would have found her by now. Yeah. For one thing, I thoroughly combed both the shopping district proper and the commercial area around the station. So in the end, we're right back to where we started. Not quite, we have something to think about now. That's a start for sure. I'll rack my brains till I can't rack no more. I'll try my best as well. We're talking about places she's been with Yuji. I think this one's pretty much up to him when you get right down to it. Yeah, you're not wrong. I might be overlooking something here. I'm gonna try to settle down and think this over as calmly as possible. Sounds good. Sitting here moaning's hardly doing much for any of us, so we might as well get a bit of a fresh start. Everyone assents to Amane's suggestion. We temporarily suspend our meeting in an attempt to break out of this rut. The girls trudge back to their respective rooms. Soon enough, I'm left alone on the lobby sofa, gazing blankly out the window. In the end, I throw myself right back into the problem without even taking time to stand up and stretch my legs. The usual place, is it? Has to be somewhere she visits frequently, and contact someplace I've been with her on a regular basis. No matter how many times I roll those conditions through my head, the only places that fit the bill are inside the grounds of this school. It's enough to make me realize just how limited our relationship is. Sachi and I have never really been more than classmates. Our frequent interactions, the result of simple proximity inside this somewhat claustrophobic school. Not that any of that's an excuse. So I can't even track down a single classmate without my special eyes and ears? Unless maybe it's at that park? I mean, you usually kept having flashbacks about some park you usually go to with some kid. Wait a minute. Thank God my master's not alive to see this. She'd be in hysterics. No, if my master was here, she'd probably be angry at me before anything else. Angry I'm wasting my time thinking about this crap instead of the problem at hand. That's right, think. If the general premise I'm working from is correct, there has to be something I'm missing here. This isn't the first time I've hit a wall like this, and Asako taught me what to do at times like these. The concept of coincidence was invented by vapid romanticists as a pickup line. Listen up and listen good. Things happen the way they do for a reason. When none of it makes any goddamn sense, stop bashing your head against the wall and take a step back. Let your mind go limp. Just like the proverbial bluebird of happiness, the answer is going to be sitting in a surprisingly obvious place. Surprisingly obvious, huh? Feels like plenty of things have happened even inside this birdcage of a school. To be perfectly honest, at first I just had her down as a weirdly diligent girl. But after a while I found out she has a surprisingly amusing side, and eventually I started getting genuinely interested in what makes her tick. Sachi kind of resembles me. That thought might have been the biggest single reason for my uncharacteristic curiosity, but whatever the case, my little talks with her have been leaving a strong impression on me lately. Even so, there's nothing there. God damn it! Tearing my eyes away from the dour gray sky, I glance around the lobby in an attempt to distract myself from this unproductive frustration. A bamboo broom propped up beside the entrance catches my eye. Seeing that broom sitting idly by is proof enough Sachi's not here. It never seems to leave her side when she's puttering around the dorm. It's far more pleasant to find the places you use nice and clean, after all. Just yesterday, she made her work as a pseudo-maid sound like her life's mission. Come to think of it. Outside of the classroom, Sachi's been wearing a maid uniform constantly since the day we met. Hold on. Could I really be making a really fundamental mistake about my assumptions here? For one thing, if I was wrong about something basic, the field of possibilities grows significantly wider. And when I narrow those down using the conditions I've been rolling around in my head all this time, all of a sudden I got a completely different candidate for the usual place. But if I'm right about this, there's one point in particular that seems completely inexplicable. That said, we've reached a total dead end otherwise. I have no choice but to run with it. Yuji, you're gonna search out again? I may know where Sachi is. Matter of fact. Huh? Did you just... Like I said, I might have figured out the usual place Sachi was talking about. I'm gonna head there to check right away. Let the others know, will you? Yeah, I can handle that much, but... Alright, I'm counting on you, Michiru. Be careful out there, got that? Without pausing to grab an umbrella or raincoat, I rushed out of the dorm, sent off by Michiru's earnest, if completely out of character words are concerned. Not bothering to avoid the puddles in the pocket of the asphalt road, I sprint single-mindedly away from the dorm. On the job, it's fundamental common sense not to set up an umbrella even in the middle of a typhoon. This rain doesn't even faze me. More importantly, every second counts right now. An entire day passed since Sachi went missing. 24 hours since she left the dorm. And she still may have been waiting for me all this time. Maybe even now. The festering sense of frustration inside me swells to unbearable intensity. Sachi. That's unclear to me as well, to be perfectly honest. When you praise me, Kazami-san, the pit of my stomach gets nice and warm. It seems I fainted in front of you again. Very perceptive. It is a favorite of yours, isn't it? Ironic. After all that time going around in circles, now it's like the dam broke. Just as my master said, the breakthrough was staring at me in the face all along. Sachi gave me plenty of hints herself. I don't know how we're getting hints from, well, this though. I wonder if maybe my guess that the park Yuji's been having flashbacks about is wrong. I make my way towards the other usual place. Nothing left to do but see if she's there. This place hasn't changed as much as I expected. I mumble to myself, feeling my way through vaguely familiar streets. Enduring a several-hour train ride from Mishima Cape, I returned to this place for the first time in many years. This is the town where I was born. In my earliest years before my master took custody of me, I lived here with my parents and sister. Never thought I'd be coming back here, much less looking for Sachi. Only constant in life is its unpredictability. Slowing my pace, I moved carefully forward, guided only by faded memories. The usual place that came to mind when all the reasonable answers failed was a small park. My one and only childhood playground, situated on the outskirts of this town. Here we go. The area around the park is thoroughly deserted, and the streetlights outside are dimmed to an absolute minimum. It's a small playground designed to give young children a place to romp around on sunny days, so it's all as expected. There's no way anybody would be using this playground on a miserable rainy evening like this one. That would be the common sense conclusion, but... It's true, you know that Sachi never turns down a favor or breaks a promise, don't you? Simplest answer, she's waiting for Yuji just like she promised. We all knew what Sachi was like. She was bizarrely obedient. We knew she was prone to making strange mistakes as a result of subtle misunderstandings. But we'd all assumed those quirks were nothing more than the reflection of her diligent personality. We'd all assumed she would bend those rules of hers if it ever truly became necessary. That's exactly why I don't want her to be here. Much as I want to find Sachi, those words spill out of my mouth. And contradictory as it might seem, I really mean them. If Sachi's here, my initial concerns about her behavior were justified. My vague unease will become something more concrete, far harder to face. Given any choice in the matter, I don't want that to happen. No, I can't afford to worry about that right now. So I finally enter the park, persuading myself to refocus on the problem at hand. And once inside that dim, desolate playground, my eyes quickly find a small figure illuminated by moonlight. Sachi? Kazami-san. The swing says a tiny thing made for the use of young children. Crammed into the undersized wooden seat, indifferent to her rain-soaked clothes, Sachi looks up at me and smiles. Have you been waiting here since yesterday? Yes, I have. Without even eating in the rain all this time? Yes. Goddamn idiot! It's too much for me to endure. She's just too pitiful right now. Before I know it, I'm shouting down at her. You seem to have gotten mad at me all of a sudden. I wonder why. Of course I'm angry. Why didn't you realize I wasn't coming? When you didn't realize I was coming, didn't you realize something was off? Why didn't you just leave? Why the hell did you sit here for 24 hours to keep some worthless promise? Because it was a promise with you, Yukun. An intimate tone completely unlike the formal style of speech Sachi usually employs. And that vaguely embarrassing nickname. The combination resonates nostalgically with memories rendered fuzzy and indistinct by the passage of time. Come on, Yukun, let's play on that next! Thanks, Yukun. Sachi's words. The connections I'm drawing have to be real. Why would you pick up other people's trash? Next time I come here to play, wouldn't it be nicer to find the place clean? So my guess was correct after all. You and I did meet for the first time in the Mihama dormitory. In the past, we used to play together here. Sachi confirms my words casually, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Of course, her mere presence in this place is proof enough. Sachi, how long have you known? I first considered the possibility when you introduced yourself to me on the day you entered Mihama Academy. Through our various discussions over the last few months, I began to suspect in earnest. But I ultimately realized you were Yukon, only when you struck my head for the first time. That was enough to convince you? You see, Kazami-san, your hand had the exact same warmth as the hand of the boy I loved. In other words, Sachi realized some time ago and kept quiet until now. Then why didn't you say anything? What do you mean, why? I'm asking you why you didn't tell me about all this. If I'd known, I might have remembered this place much more quickly, right? It simply didn't occur to me you might go anywhere else. It didn't occur to you? That's correct. As children, we always arranged to meet in this park. In other words, we never played anywhere other than here. When you said the usual place, this was the only location that came to mind. Are you serious? Yes. So many things happened so fast back then. The details are still fuzzy for me, but Sachi's memories of the time we spent together don't seem to have faded. And this playground is a very important place to her. But even so... Also, you never requested I tell you. I see. Kind of think of it, Sachi's always been like this. Silently carrying out her orders like a faithful robot, never expressing doubt or interjecting with her own opinion. Never advancing her own interests. The rare exceptions come only when Sachi judges it strictly necessary. Even then, she's usually just seeking clarification. There's no longer any doubt in my mind. Those rules have been the very reason Sachi ended up in Mihama Academy. In other words, it's all exactly as I feared. Why do you look so sad? Because I am sad, idiot. What, aren't you? Let's see. Actually, I'm quite happy. Happy? Yes. You might have been rather late considering the time we originally agreed to, but you did show up at the end, Yukon. So I'm very happy indeed. As Sachi smiles up at me, I finally realize something. The one thing about this girl that truly resembles me is the way she smiles. An artificial thing plastered on for the sake of lubricating social interactions. An attempt to put others at ease rather than a reflection of any real emotion. Maybe she really is happy. Whatever the case, that smile is hollow. How many times have I seen this expression on her face, and I'm only realizing now? Pathetic. No, maybe it's not surprising I didn't notice. I managed to fool plenty of people that exact same way. It's a skill that develops with practice. Kazami-san, please don't make such a miserable face. You kept your promise, that's what matters. So this time it's my turn to play this role. Rising unsteadily to her feet, Sachi reaches up and brings her hand to rest on top of my head. Thank you for keeping your promise, Yukon. Maybe it's sheer surprise. Maybe some part of me wants things to stay like this a little longer. I can't tell for sure. Whatever the case, my body's frozen in place under the gentle movements of that small hand. Sachi, what are you? I do apologize for not asking your permission first. But the last time I promised to wait in the usual place, you never show up at this playground. I didn't? I'm afraid not. But that wasn't your fault, Yukon. I was a bad girl back then. I decided I was a problem solved by myself. It's only natural you didn't show up. But things were different this time. This time we made a real promise. And this time you really did show up in the end. That makes me very happy. Sachi! I catch Sachi in my arms as she collapses forward, the last of her strength gone. I apologize, Kazami-san. I'll get right up. Nothing to apologize for. Don't push yourself. I'm glad to hear you say that. For some reason, I can't quite seem to stand up at the moment. Hardly surprising after sitting through that rainstorm without eating or drinking. At a quick estimate, Sachi's been in this place 28 hours straight. I'm willing to bet she didn't even allow herself to take a nap the whole time she was waiting for me. No matter how sturdy the girl is, she must be well past the limits of her physical endurance by now. But I promise, I take another of your tests now. You don't need to worry about that either. Huh? The only thing you promised me was to wait until I showed up, and you kept that promise. You can rest now. That's very nice to hear. With those words, and a particularly weak attempt at a smile, Sachi instantly falls unconscious. Within seconds, she's gone totally limp, leaving me to bear her full weight in my arms. It's only then that I finally realized just how alarmingly cold her body is. The girl's clearly in bad shape. To the point she needs medical attention and quickly. Even so, the expression on her face as she sleeps seems generally happy. in a way that artificial smile never was. I may be a pretty pitiful excuse for a human being, but maybe there's something I can do for this girl. You're a hell of a lot tougher than you look, Sachi. After brushing a few drops of rainwater from Sachi's face, I pull out my cell phone and call Chizuru. Wait, Yukun! Why won't you play with me anymore? That's not fair. Aren't we friends now? I thought we'd play lots and lots from now on. And now we have to say goodbye all of a sudden? I'll be waiting tomorrow, okay? Until you show up, Yukun. I'll wait at the usual place, no matter how long it takes. Even after hearing Sachi's stories, is about as much as I can remember. As children, we parted abruptly. Our burgeoning friendship was cut off without warning. That must have happened when I was forced to move away after my sister's death. That much makes sense. But there's still one part of all this I find completely inexplicable. I understand Sachi has to be the same person who played with me as a child, but the girl in my memories was energetic and strong-willed in the extreme, a little spoiled even. Her personality and way of speaking were totally unlike the Sachi I know today. Of course, people naturally change as they grow up, but I don't think I know of many transformations that are that dramatic. Something must have triggered such a radical shift. I guess that something is connected to our conversation back then, but there's no way to know for sure until I learn more about Sachi's past. With what happened over the last 2 days, I think that's become necessary. Ah, Chizuru? Told you to wait in my office, didn't I? Sorry, felt like getting some air. That's so. Dropping up the line of questioning, Chizuru walks up the stand at my side. I've contacted all concerned parties and dealt with the hospital paperwork. I appreciate it. Sorry to push all the work on you. That's my line. It's my job to supervise my students, and you're the one who actually found Kamine-san. True enough. More importantly, shouldn't you be with her right now? She's got 4 dedicated nurses at the moment. I think she'll be alright. You're the only person I know who can make such a stupid joke at a time like this. Blame my sister, I inherited from her, but anyway, I had something else to take care of. Remember you told me a little while ago how you don't expect me to do anything in particular for the school or its students? I've got a follow-up question. Are you willing to let me get involved on a voluntary basis? Oh, but of course. Good to know. Sounds like she was almost expecting this from the very start. Guess there's a reason she's able to get by sitting around and sipping expensive tea all day. Are you sure about that? It's not like this is an Ichigaya mission. You're under no obligation to act, and there's no reason to believe getting involved will bring you real benefit. No, but I didn't come to the school for duty or profit. You might say I'm here precisely because I wanted something more than that. Right. I want to understand the meaning of my words my master left me. Also, in a way, I owe Sachi my life. She saved your life? Sachi and I knew each other as kids, and it's probably thanks to her that I managed to push my way through the worst of it. I must admit, that's a bit of a shock. I didn't know anything about this. Not surprising, I just remembered a little while ago myself. I see. Lowering her hand from the fence, Chizuru turns to face me. But given circumstances like those, I can understand why it's Komini-san in particular. Simple truth is, Sachi caught my interest as she is today. Shall I give you my files of Kamine-san? Like I said before, that won't be necessary. Do you plan to interrogate her then? Knowing full well she can't refuse to answer? That's not it either. I'll handle this my way. In this case, maybe it's a pointlessly roundabout method, but I've gotten by with it all this time. So I'm going to stick with what I know. Is that supposed to be a compliment? Very interesting question. Blatantly avoiding the question, Chizuru offers me a composed smile. Alright, I think it's about time I got going. Okay, if you need something from me, just say the word. I'm counting on it, Principal Tachibana. Well done. Now I retrieve my cell phone from my pocket. Even if it does ultimately come down to asking for someone's help, I'll stick to methods I trust most. If I want to change something, I think that's the way it's gotta be. Julie, I need a favor. Right, so Sachi's in... Well, yeah, Sachi was in the hospital. Unsurprisingly. Okay, I said I was gonna do about an hour-long stream, and turns out we almost pushed 2 because Not gonna lie, when Sachi went missing, I got pretty interested in, like, what the hell's going on? And then just after enough time seeing that park flash back in Yuji's head as a kid, and Sachi saying something about the usual place, and literally narrowing down any other reasonable possibility, it just got to a point where maybe I could draw 2 and 2, try and bring 2 and 2 together. Yes, so I was definitely correct on the guess, not gonna lie. Yeah, so I guessed correctly. Yuji and Sachi did in fact know each other as kids. Just how did neither one really remember it that much is just beyond me. Well, I understand with Yuji's backstory, like how he'd forget that. In his case, I can imagine how he'd forget, but Sachi though. I guess maybe next Grisaia stream or the one after we're gonna find out.